Ethan had seen many worlds in his career as an interstellar explorer, but none had felt quite like this. The moment his ship's landing gear touched the soft, glowing ground, he knew this planet was alive in a way that was more than physical. The air shimmered faintly, carrying scents and colors that danced around his senses. Strange plants swayed gently even though there was no wind, and the sky above flickered with colors he had never seen before. He stepped out of his ship, his boots sinking slightly into the soft, almost sponge-like surface. Around him, enormous trees with translucent leaves reached toward the sky, their trunks pulsing with faint light. Tiny creatures no bigger than his hand zipped between the branches, leaving trails of luminescent dust behind. Ethan paused for a moment, letting the wonder of it sink in. He was far from home, but he had never felt closer to the heartbeat of the universe. As he walked deeper into the forest, he noticed that the glow of the plants seemed to form patterns, almost like they were guiding him somewhere. Soon he arrived at a clearing where the light was brighter, almost like sunlight filtering through a dense canopy. There, nestled among flowering vines that shimmered with colors he could barely describe, was a city. Not a city in the human sense. There were no roads or cars, but towers of smooth, curved metal rose like the spines of some giant creature. Bridges of the same material connected them, and the entire structure seemed to float slightly above the ground. Ethan's heart raced. This civilization had to be intelligent, but it had kept itself hidden. He crouched behind a thick vine, observing. Small figures moved gracefully across the bridges and platforms. They were humanoid, but their skin glimmered with a soft silver light and their eyes were large, black, and almond-shaped. They moved with a fluid grace that suggested a culture of elegance and precision. Before he could take another step, a soft sound made him freeze. It wasn't a voice, not exactly, but a vibration in the air that he could feel in his chest. Then a figure appeared before him, stepping lightly from the shadows. She was small, her form delicate yet perfectly balanced, with skin that glimmered like polished silver and hair that shimmered in shifting colors. Her eyes locked onto his, and for a moment Ethan was completely still. "I can see you," she said, not with words but in a way that felt like the sound of wind brushing over glass. He realized she was communicating telepathically. Ethan swallowed hard. "I mean no harm," he said aloud, unsure if she could even understand human speech. She tilted her head, her hair reflecting colors he could not name. Then she smiled, and the air around him seemed to warm. Somehow he understood the meaning. She was curious, not hostile. "I am Lyra," she said, and this time he heard her voice clearly in his mind. "You are human. Why have you come?" Ethan stepped forward slowly, keeping his hands visible. "My name is Ethan. I'm an explorer. I've come to learn, to see your world and to understand your people." Lyra's eyes widened slightly and she moved closer, her feet barely touching the glowing ground. "You are brave," she said, her voice soft but full of certainty. "Most humans would never step onto this planet. It is sacred to us, but you are different." Ethan felt a mixture of pride and apprehension. "Different in what way?" "You are willing to see, to listen, to share," Lyra said. She extended her hand toward him and he noticed a faint shimmer in the air as their fingers touched. It was not electricity, not heat, but something that felt alive like the pulse of a living star. "You must understand something," Lyra continued. "In my world, we do not simply talk. We share energy, a connection between our hearts, minds, and lives. It is how we trust, how we bond. If you wish to learn, you must join me in the ritual." Ethan hesitated. The word ritual suggested something dangerous, something alien he might not survive. But he also felt a deep urge to understand, to be part of this world even for a moment. He nodded. Lyra smiled again, and suddenly the forest around them seemed to respond. The glowing plants pulsed brighter, forming a circle around them. Ethan felt his mind clearing, as if the usual chatter of human thought was being softened by some gentle presence. He realized that the ritual was not physical. It was mental, emotional, and spiritual. "Please come inside of me, human," Lyra said. The words made him pause, and for a brief second panic rose. But then he saw her expression open and trusting, and he realized the true meaning. It was not what it sounded like to his human mind. She was inviting him to enter a shared state of consciousness, to see the world through her eyes and allow her to feel his presence in return. Ethan closed his eyes and nodded. Instantly, the world shifted. He felt as if he was no longer entirely his own. Colors became sounds, sounds became emotions, and emotions became shapes. He could sense the pulse of life in every tree, every creature, and every stone. And at the center of it all was Lyra, her essence intertwining with his, teaching him the language of her people without a single word. He saw visions of her world's history, how once, long ago, her people had thrived in harmony with the planet, understanding every living thing. But then, a disease had spread that they could not fight, and many cities had fallen. She showed him the secret of her city's survival, a network of living technology that responded to emotion and thought. Not commands. Hours, or maybe minutes, Ethan could not tell, passed in this shared consciousness. When he opened his eyes, he saw the awe in Lyra's gaze. "You understand," she said simply. I think I do," Ethan said, though he knew he only scratched the surface. "Your people are amazing." Lyra's expression darkened slightly. "Not everyone will see us this way. There are others, factions, who fear outsiders. They will not welcome you. Some may even try to drive you away." Ethan frowned. "Then I'll have to convince them." "Convince them?" Lyra's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Brave but naive. You are human after all. Humans often rely on courage. That may help you here, but courage alone is not enough. You will need wisdom, patience, and heart." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had faced many dangers in space, but none quite like this. Here, the enemy was not just hostility. It was misunderstanding, fear, and the unknown. And yet, for the first time in his life, he felt that he was exactly where he was meant to be. As they walked together into the city, Ethan noticed how the structures seemed alive. Bridges bent gently under their weight. Towers shifted slightly as they passed, and the air shimmered with energy that reacted to thought and intent. Lyra explained that this was how her people had survived countless threats, by building a city that was part of the planet itself, a living symbiosis. But not all was peaceful. As they approached a central plaza, Ethan saw groups of aliens whispering and glancing at him with suspicion. Their postures were defensive, and some held strange devices that seemed capable of projecting force fields. Lyra's smile faded. "This is what I warned you about," she said. "They do not trust humans. They fear what you might take or what you might destroy." Ethan took a deep breath. "Then I'll show them I mean no harm. I'll help them. I'll earn their trust." Lyra studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Very well. But remember, human, trust must be felt, not demanded. You will need to show your heart, not just your words." The first challenge came swiftly. A young alien child had become trapped inside a malfunctioning section of the city, a tower that controlled energy flow. The force fields had locked, and the child's cries echoed in a language Ethan could barely comprehend. Without hesitation, he approached the tower, examining the controls. Lyra touched his shoulder. "You must think like us. Our systems respond to intention and focus, not brute force." Ethan closed his eyes, reaching out with his mind as he had during the ritual. Slowly, he felt the flow of energy, the currents that guided the city's functions. With careful thought and steady focus, he guided the force field open, releasing the child safely. The crowd watched in stunned silence, and then whispers of approval spread. Ethan saw the first flickers of respect in their eyes. Lyra beamed at him. "You are learning quickly. Perhaps you are more human than they feared." Ethan smiled, though his mind was already racing. He knew this was only the beginning. If he wanted to survive here, and if he wanted to protect Lyra and her people, he would need to understand not just their technology and rituals, but their hearts. And he was willing to do whatever it took. As night fell over the glowing city, Ethan looked at the sky. The colors shifted and danced, reflecting the energy of the planet itself. He felt a sense of purpose, a calling that went beyond exploration. Here, among these aliens, he could make a difference. And somehow he knew that Lyra would be at his side, guiding him through challenges he had yet to imagine. For the first time in his life, he felt truly part of something greater than himself. And he knew that whatever awaited him, he would face it with courage, heart, and the trust of an alien friend who had shown him the meaning of true connection. Ethan woke to the soft hum of the city around him. The glowing towers cast gentle light across the plaza, and the air shimmered with the living energy of the planet. He stretched and looked around for Lyra, hoping she had already begun her daily routines. He found her on one of the floating platforms, her silver skin glinting in the light, eyes focused on a shimmering control panel that seemed alive. "Good morning," Ethan said. Approaching carefully, Lyra looked up and smiled. "Good morning, human. You slept well?" "I think so," Ethan replied, though his mind was already buzzing. "What's on today's agenda?" Lyra tilted her head. "Today you will learn how to interact with the elders. They must see your heart, not just your actions. You have helped a child and repaired a system, but they will test you in other ways." Ethan nodded. He had already seen hints of the elders, wise older aliens who carried themselves with authority and a quiet power. They had not yet welcomed him, but he felt their curiosity and cautious interest. He knew gaining their trust was crucial. They walked together toward the council chambers, a large open structure that floated slightly above the ground. Inside, the elders were waiting, their expressions unreadable. Ethan bowed slightly, though it felt strange to him. Lyra's presence made it easier. Her confidence was contagious. "You have returned, human," the tallest elder said, his voice calm but firm. "Lyra speaks highly of your actions. But deeds alone do not prove worth. You must show understanding of our world and our people." Ethan swallowed and nodded. "I understand. I will try my best." The elder's eyes seemed to pierce into him. "We will see. Your first test is of observation and insight. You must navigate the city today unnoticed by most and report back on what you learn. This is not about speed or force. It is about understanding the living city and its people." Ethan glanced at Lyra, who gave him an encouraging nod. "You can do this," she whispered. He spent the next several hours moving through the city carefully. He observed small interactions between citizens, noting the way energy flowed in their gestures and communication. He watched as the inhabitants repaired minor damages in the city, using mental commands and subtle movements. He realized that their technology was not separate from their lives. It was an extension of them, almost as alive as the people themselves. When he returned to the council, he shared everything he had noticed. The elders listened silently, then exchanged glances. The tallest one finally spoke. "You see more than the surface. You notice intention and emotion, not just action. This is rare among outsiders. Your understanding grows." Ethan felt a surge of pride but tempered it with humility. "I still have much to learn." "Good," Lyra said softly. "Humility is as important as courage." No sooner had they finished speaking than an alarm sounded throughout the city. Ethan felt the shift immediately. The energy around him tightened like a string being pulled. Lyra grabbed his arm. "Something is wrong," she said. Through the plaza, Ethan saw figures moving in the shadows. They were not like the city's inhabitants. They were larger, more angular, with dull gray skin and eyes that glowed faintly red. Ethan's heart raced. The alien faction Lyra had warned him about had arrived. "They think we are weak," Lyra said, her voice tense. "They think they can take what they want." Ethan's mind raced.
He had faced enemies before, but this was different.
These aliens had technology and strength, but they lacked the connection to the city's living energy. He realized he could use that knowledge. Lyra led him to a platform overlooking the approaching attackers. "You must focus. The city responds to intention. If you command with clarity, it can defend itself." Ethan took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He felt the pulse of the city, the flow of energy in every tower, bridge, and path. He reached out with his mind, guiding the city's response. Slowly, barriers rose along the main entrances, glowing faintly as they aligned with his focus. Platforms shifted to block paths, and energy pulses moved to push back the intruders without harming them. The attackers hissed in frustration, unable to penetrate the defenses. Ethan opened his eyes and saw Lyra watching him, her expression a mixture of surprise and pride. "You are stronger than I thought, human," she said. Together, they directed the city's energy, moving barriers and redirecting flows to confuse and trap the intruders. The attackers realized they could not win, and began retreating, leaving behind their devices and weapons, which the city safely absorbed to prevent any damage. When the alarm ended, the elders approached. Ethan expected caution, but instead they bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. "You have protected our people and our home," the tallest elder said. "Not with violence, but with understanding. This is the true strength of humanity." Ethan felt a mixture of relief and pride. He had not only survived the trial, but had also saved lives. Lyra smiled at him, her eyes shining. "You have proven yourself in ways no outsider could. But there is still more. Trust and connection are ongoing challenges. As the city returned to normal, Ethan noticed the subtle ways in which the inhabitants interacted with him. Children waved, small creatures approached without fear, and even the wary citizens who had observed him earlier seemed to acknowledge his presence without suspicion. Lyra led him to a quiet part of the city, a small garden suspended in the air. Here the plants glowed softly and streams of light flowed like liquid. She turned to him, her expression serious. There is one more step before you can truly be accepted. You must participate in the final ritual of trust. It is a celebration of connection, of unity between our species and you. Ethan's stomach tightened. Another ritual? He had already shared consciousness with her once, but he trusted her. I'm ready, he said. The ritual began at sunset. Citizens gathered in the garden, forming a circle. Ethan joined Lyra at the center. She reached out and he felt the familiar pulse of energy connecting them. Slowly, he allowed his mind and heart to merge with the city's pulse again, this time not just guided by Lyra, but by the acceptance of the people around him. He saw visions of their history, their joys and sorrows, their fears and hopes. He felt their gratitude and trust, a wave of emotion that filled him with warmth. Lyra's presence guided him, but the connection was now stronger, encompassing the entire community. When the ritual ended, Ethan opened his eyes and felt different. He had seen the world through their perspective, felt the flow of life as they did, and understood the delicate balance that sustained their civilization. He felt a deep bond with Lyra, not just as a guide or friend, but as a partner in protecting and learning from this world. The elders approached once more. You have completed the trials, the tallest said. You are not one of us, and yet you are part of our story now. This is rare among humans. Your species has potential beyond understanding. You bring courage, wisdom, and heart. You are a symbol of what humans can achieve. Ethan bowed respectfully. Thank you. I only wish to learn, to help, and to be a friend. Lyra smiled, and for the first time Ethan felt truly at home on this planet. You are more than a friend, Ethan. You are a bridge between our worlds. Humanity and my people have much to share, and you will help us grow together. As night fell, the city shimmered with life. Ethan looked at Lyra, and she reached out her hand. He took it, feeling the pulse of the city through their connection. Together they watched the stars, knowing that this was only the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, new factions to face, and more trials to prove his worth. But for the first time, Ethan understood that being human was not just about strength or survival. It was about courage, empathy, and the ability to connect with others, even across the boundaries of species. He smiled at Lyra. I'm ready for whatever comes next. And I will be with you, she said. Together we will protect this world and learn from each other. Humanity and my people side by side. Ethan felt a surge of determination. He knew that wherever he went, whatever challenges came, he carried not just human ingenuity, but the trust and bond of an entire civilization. And in that moment, he realized the true meaning of being human, not just in body, but in heart. The city pulsed softly around them, a living testament to cooperation, trust, and the limitless potential of two worlds learning from each other. Ethan and Lyra stood together, ready to face the future, knowing that friendship, understanding, and courage were the greatest powers of all. And in the glow of that alien city, under a sky unlike any other, Ethan felt a sense of purpose and belonging that he had never known before. The adventure was far from over, but he was no longer just a visitor. He was part of something greater, and together with Lyra, he would help shape the bond between human and alien that could change the universe.